Good evening. I'm Melissa, and this is Behind the Trend, short stories, big insights. Tonight, we're turning to Portland, Oregon, a city once again at the center of national attention. This time, it's not about protests or politics. It's about a shooting involving U.S. Border Patrol agents, one that left 2 people wounded and a community full of questions. Now, before we start, take a breath. This story is complex. It's tense. And like so many others, it's about what happens when law enforcement and everyday life collide. Let's break down what we know and what's still unclear. It all started on Thursday afternoon, January 9th, around 12:30 p.m. Federal agents from the Border Patrol Tactical Unit, known as BORTAC, were conducting what they called a targeted stop in southeast Portland. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the stop was part of a federal investigation into violent crimes. Officials haven't said who they were targeting or what led to the confrontation. But here's what witnesses saw. 2 vehicles stopped near a residential intersection. Federal agents in tactical gear approached one of them. Moments later, gunfire. Neighbors described it as sudden and terrifying. One resident said, "It didn't sound like fireworks. It was sharp, controlled bursts." When the smoke cleared, 2 people, both civilians, were wounded. They were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No agents were reported injured. But the real questions began almost immediately. Why were Border Patrol agents, typically seen near the southern U.S. border, operating in the heart of Portland? Within hours, the scene was flooded. Local police, federal agents, and curious neighbors lining the street. Crime scene tapes surrounded a gray sedan, bullet holes visible in the doors, and onlookers, many with their phones out, documenting what had just happened in their neighborhood. Portland police confirmed they were not the lead investigators. Instead, the FBI and Department of Homeland Security's Office of Inspector General took over. That's standard when a federal shooting occurs. But it doesn't always calm the public. By evening, social media was buzzing with speculation. Some posts accused agents of using excessive force. Others defended them, saying they were stopping dangerous suspects. But one thing stood out. Even city officials seemed caught off guard. A local council member told reporters, "We didn't even know BORTAC was operating here." So, who exactly are these agents? BORTAC is the Border Patrol's elite tactical unit, often described as the agency's equivalent of a SWAT team. They're trained for high-risk operations, raids, hostage rescues, counter-narcotics. During 2020's protests, they were deployed in Portland to protect federal property. That move drew national criticism. And now, 4 years later, their return to the city has reopened old wounds. Homeland Security officials say the agents were working with a federal task force, targeting transnational criminal activity. But they haven't said what that means, or whether drugs, trafficking, or another crime was involved. For Portland residents, that lack of clarity feels familiar. This city has seen its share of federal action, and the mistrust that often follows. One activist told CNN, "Every time something like this happens, the story keeps changing, and we're left to fill in the blanks." Let's talk about the people caught in the middle. The 2 civilians who were shot have not been publicly identified. Friends describe them as quiet, ordinary folks, people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. One neighbor, who didn't want to appear on camera, said, "I saw the flash. Then I saw her go down. I've lived here 15 years. I've never seen anything like it." That's the thing about these moments. They don't just make headlines, they shake people's sense of safety. When bullets fly in a residential street, no one feels like it's just another operation. And now, for the families involved, there's trauma and silence. Federal investigators are keeping details tight, and that's left locals desperate for answers. As of now, both the FBI and the Oregon Department of Justice have launched investigations. The Portland Police Bureau is assisting, but not leading. DHS officials say body camera footage is being reviewed, along with radio logs and surveillance video from nearby homes. But accountability, as we know, takes time. Federal use of force cases are notoriously complex, And if this investigation follows the same path as others, it could be months, even years, before the full report is public. Meanwhile, local leaders are calling for transparency. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler released a statement saying, "We expect full cooperation from federal agencies. The people of Portland deserve clear answers." And Oregon's governor echoed that sentiment, urging for an independent and transparent review. But there's one more layer, the political one. Federal presence in Portland has always been a political lightning rod. Back in 2020, when BORTAC agents were first deployed to control protests, videos showed them pulling people into unmarked vans. That sparked outrage and lawsuits. So when news broke that Border Patrol agents were back in Portland, it triggered an emotional flashback for many residents. Lawmakers are now pressing for answers on Capitol Hill. Several members of Congress have requested DHS briefings, asking, why was BORTAC deployed here again? Who approved the operation? And was lethal force justified? Even within law enforcement, there's unease. One retired FBI agent told CNN, Border Patrol is not trained for urban policing. They're trained for combat environments. That's a very different mindset. It's a sobering thought that the same tactics used at the border are now appearing in American neighborhoods. So where does this leave us? 2 people are recovering in the hospital, a federal task force is under investigation, and a city, still healing from years of tension, is left asking the same question. Who do we trust to keep us safe? Maybe that's what makes this story hit so hard. It's not just about what happened in Portland. It's about what it means for all of us. When federal agents move in without warning, when communication breaks down, and when ordinary people get caught in the crossfire, it's not just a policy issue, it's a human one. I'm Melissa, and this has been Behind the Trend. Short stories, big insights. If this story moved you or made you think, share it. These are the stories that remind us every headline has a heartbeat behind it. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.